North Carolina Dems and friends, welcome to the program. I'm Anderson Clayton, chair of the North Carolina Democratic Party, and here's what Democrats are talking about this week. It's election season again, North Carolina, and it's time to get out and vote. Charlotte has already held the first of their elections this year, starting their primaries back in September. For most of us, we start early voting this week. This week, folks, I want to talk about that this week. Our upcoming municipal elections. And no, not because municipal elections are the foundation of our democracy, the grassroots of our movement, or the fastest path to direct change in our communities. Y'all already know that because you've been paying attention to me, right? Right? Here's why we're talking about it. This is the first election that's being administered by a Republican-led state board of elections in almost a decade. Things are a little bit different at the polls this year, and we need to be prepared for what those differences are going to look like. So today, we're going to break down how we got here, why we're worried, what we're seeing, and what we're going to do about it. So North Carolina, how did Republicans come to govern our elections? Last year, after the election, hidden in the guts of a Hurricane Helene relief bill, Republicans put in provisions that stripped powers away from the newly elected Democrats. For the longest time, the governor has been in charge of appointing the deciding vote on the State Board of Elections. Since it's an independent agency, something the Constitution puts in the governor's charge, well, the Republicans have had their eye on that agency for a while now, and they've wanted it. The most straightforward thing to do would be to elect a Republican governor who would have control over that board, but they tried that, and it did not work. Shout out Mark Robinson. But most states put the power of the election administration with their secretaries of state. But they tried to get a Republican secretary of state elected, and they couldn't do that either. Shout out to Elaine Marshall. So after ballots were counted and they looked at the folks that they had available, they used a provision in a disaster relief bill to move the State Board of Elections under the control of Dave Bullock, the Republican state auditor. The board has always been bipartisan, with the governor's party getting to appoint the majority of the seats on the state and local boards. Now that the board is under Republican control, the power to appoint the majority goes to the auditor instead of the governor. It was a power grab. And if you're wondering why you missed it, it's probably because the Republicans wanted you to. That's why it was passed inside. And I feel like I cannot stress this enough. A Hurricane Helene relief bill. Every local board is now majority Republican, which also means the chairs of the local boards have moved from Democrat to Republican, a change which filters all the way down to the composition of our precinct judges at polling places. On average, both state and locally, the experience level of your local election administrators has gone down, and in some cases way down, and the transition hasn't been smooth for everyone. There's been small stuff, like errors on the State Board of Elections website listing polling sites being open in places without elections. When the North Carolina Dems flagged that to the state board, part of the reasoning they provided for the error was staff turnover. There's also been a lot of local turnover, with some longtime election officials leaving their nonpartisan staff jobs amid the changes. Just last week, the director of the New Hanover County Board of Elections retired. Early voting starts this week, mind you. At the state level, things are also getting real confusing. When the State Board of Elections moved under the office of the state auditor, the Republicans were quick to defend the move by claiming that the auditor would not inject himself or his office into the board's affairs. It would keep itself running independent. But that promise already appears to have gone a little by the wayside. Just recently, Auditor Bullock hired the former executive director of the North Carolina Republican Party, Dallas Woodhouse, to be some kind of, well, we don't really know what exactly. Here's what we do know about him. Dallas Woodhouse is extensively on the record being against early voting, same-day voter registration, and student voting. In an email Dave Bullock sent to county election officials, he told them that Woodhouse has been appointed as his liaison to the local and state board of elections who will serve as his eyes and ears on the ground in our elections process. The specifics of his duties aren't clear, but evidently that list includes what he was doing last week, which was showing up at a Board of Elections meeting in Durham County, trying to convince them to make the DMV turn over all 9 digits of your social security number to the State Board of Elections. His whole shtick is election integrity. He claims same-day registration is rife with voter fraud. It isn't. And he used his role in charge of the NCGOP to push local boards of elections to limit early voting, eliminate Sunday voting, and remove polling sites on college campuses. But let's zoom in on that for a second. Election integrity, voter fraud. I'll be the first to tell you, elections are hard to administer, and they're hard to get perfect. Mistakes are always possible, but they get caught, and they don't change the outcome of elections. In North Carolina, there has been exactly one case of voter fraud at scale. At scale, meaning it was intentional and not isolated to just one misbehaving or mistaken individual. And it was committed by a Republican running for Congress in 2018. 2018, by the way, is when Dallas election integrity Woodhouse was still in charge of the North Carolina Republican Party. Please make it make sense. As frustrating as it was to see someone try to take advantage of our election system like that, we all should really be viewing it as kind of a win. That election fraud in 2018, our elections administrators saw abnormalities in some of the absentee ballots when they were being returned. They caught that fraud. We know that when things aren't right, our systems are already built to find the problem and deliver us a just result. That was a conspiracy, and we stopped it. A jerk on your local board of elections or an honest mistake isn't a conspiracy. It is very likely that for a lot of y'all, some of the folks running your municipal elections will be doing it for the first time this year. So that's what I need you to remember. If something goes wrong, it's probably confusion, not a conspiracy. And that means it's easier for us to set it right. North Carolina's elections administrators have done everything they need to do to give us the confidence that when a ballot has been duly cast, it will be duly counted. But elections don't happen in a vacuum, and our processes have gotten more complicated. Recent legislation and court cases about photo ID requirements have confused voters and poll workers alike because the list of valid IDs is long and all of the rules seem to have an exception. And there are still tens of thousands of active voters on the State Board of Elections registration repair list. Being on the list means that if those folks don't update their registration before voting, they'll have to vote provisionally, providing another layer of confusion when poll workers have to assess who gets to vote and how. On top of all of that, this is the first year that partisan poll observers are going to be allowed inside polling places to observe nonpartisan municipal elections. Poll observers can bring transparency and accountability into our democracy, but only if all of the observers are following the rules. With so many new election officials on the ground, we need Democrats to be in every polling place this year to make sure that the law is being applied correctly, that observers from other parties are following those rules, and that every eligible voter knows their rights and can cast their ballot. Trust me, the Republicans have been waiting for this, and they're going to be there. In elections like these, every vote matters. There were multiple elections in our municipal elections last time that came down to 20 votes or less, y'all. High Point City Council, Chapel Hill Town Council, Maiden Town Council, that election came down to 7 votes. Monroe's mayor election came down to a coin flip, and it gave us Robert Burns. Just a handful of voters improperly turned away from the polls. Or honestly, y'all, maybe just getting discouraged from voting if the new rules caught them by surprise could turn the tide of that election. So I need 2 things from you. First, if you've got the time, I need you, yes you, to be a poll observer. It's that important. The North Carolina Dems are training folks to be observers so that you can go out and defend your neighbor's right to vote. Learn more about it by going to ncdp.org/pollobserver. The second thing I need for you to do is get both you and the folks that you care about ready to vote. I'm going to walk you through everything you need to do, okay? All of this is going to be online so that the links and everything that you'll hear about will be in the description. I've got a page where everything is labeled and easy to find at ncdp.org/ready-to-vote. First, check to make sure you're registered at your current address. Go to the State Board of Elections website at ncsbe.gov and find the button labeled Voter Search. When the form comes up, type in your name. A list of all the registered voters in North Carolina with that same name will show up. So all my John Smiths out there, you might want to filter by county as well. Make that list a little shorter. Find yourself on the list and click to view your voter profile. Check to make sure your address is correct and scroll down to find your polling place and a sample ballot for this year's election. Second, I need you to go back to the ncsbe.gov homepage. Find the button labeled Registration Repair. That will take you to the State Board of Elections Registration Repair list. This is a list of tens of thousands of voters who, for any one of myriad reasons, needs to update their voter registration. I've met folks who are confident that they're not on the list who search their names only to find themselves on it. Do me a favor and take 15 seconds to search your name and make sure that's not you or one of your friend or family members. If you're on the list though, go to the DMV website or your local Board of Elections office and update your registration. It takes less than 5 minutes, I swear to you. Next, I need you to find the ID you plan on taking to vote with you. Get it out, lay eyes on it. If you have a current valid North Carolina driver's license or United States passport, you're good to go. If you don't have either one of those, but you think that you have something else, including a license that might be expired from another state or a school ID, or literally any form of ID past or present with your name on it and your face, go to the State Board of Elections website and find out if it qualifies. There's a list with all of the acceptable forms of ID, and what you've got may do the trick. If nothing you have will work, you can get a free ID from your local county board of elections, and that'll do the job for you too. Now you and me, we're making a plan for you to get out and vote. If you're in one of the 91 counties in North Carolina with a local election this fall, and your municipality within that county is actually holding an election, not all of them are, we're going to pick out when and where we're going to the polls this year. Check your calendar and find out when you've got time to vote. It's hard to fit it in, and sometimes that can be because you're working. Voting early is the solution. The State Board of Elections has a tool on their website that lets you see how early voting sites in your county, and you can cast your ballot at any of those voting sites in your county. Pick whichever one is closest to you. Although most counties have only one. Clicking on the voting site will also show you the hours, which in some counties can include weekends. You can even register to vote early and on the same day. If you're voting on election day, you'll need to go to your neighborhood polling place in your voting precinct, the same one listed on your voter profile or in the voter registration postcard sent to you in the mail when you registered. Voting is more fun with a friend. This year, I ended up taking a voter I met while knocking doors to the polls, and we went to vote early in the Roxborough municipal elections. Find someone to take with you to the polls if you can, and make sure they're as prepared as you are to cast their ballot and get it counted. Finally, I want you to open up your Notes app or your Contacts app, whichever one you want. I have a number I need you to save, 833-868-3462 or 833-VOTE4NC. That's the voter assistance hotline I need you to call the second you get to the polls and see something that doesn't seem right. If you get told you can't cast your ballot or you're turned away, whatever it may be, give us a call so we can help you get your vote counted. Some folks might be told that you need to vote provisionally, which just means that your ballot requires some extra verification steps. If you need to, cast your ballot that way instead of leaving a voting location without voting at all. Now you're ready to vote, and you have everything you need to cast your ballot. Remember, you can get the links to all of this information at any time at ncdp.org/readytovote. Things may be different at the polls this year, but by preparing to vote in advance and volunteering to be poll observers at our polling places, we can make sure our voices are heard no matter what changes. We're in the home stretch of this election cycle, y'all. It's all down to us to make the difference in our backyards and to make sure everyone in North Carolina is heard at the ballot box. Until next week, y'all, where I better see a bunch of comments of folks telling me that y'all have early voted.